Hello, welcome. My name is Alex Dick. Yes, I know my last name's Dick, and it's funny. You may laugh now if you need to. Um, I am unfortunately not going to be laughing because I've heard the same joke since the playground. But there's lots of mature teachers in the building that would laugh if you're interested. I teach AP Human Geography and Crime and Justice at Maple Grove. And what I'm showing you here is a introductory PowerPoint about myself. And I call it a me card because it's used to be done on paper and it's a card about yourself. And I'm actually going to ask your students to do this same thing, just change out your own information and turn that in as their first thing they're going to do for me. So I was born and raised in Plymouth. I went to Wayzata High School. I also went to St. Olaf College, Umyaya. If you don't know what Umyaya is, well, you're not into St. Olaf, that's fine. Um, One thing that I love about St. Olaf's fight song, where they sing Umyaya, is that it's the only fight song in the country set to a waltz. So that tells you a little bit about the school. Umyaya. All right. I have a dog named Stevie Nicks and a cat named Dexter. Here's Dexter here. She's right next to me during distance learning. It's the main issue about distance learning for me. I can't get her out of here without ripping up my pants or stepping on the keyboard. All right, we'll leave it alone. So what I want information from your students is, your guys' name or parents or guardians or whatever, and then just some information about themselves. So paragraph, just a little bit about you, what you'd like to learn in the class, some things you'd like to accomplish, your favorite thing from your past summer, over the break, or during quarantine, and something I might not know about you. So I have, I'd like to learn about cultural diffusion as just an example. I coach varsity tennis, ninth grade football, and I advise Model UN. If you guys or your students find any of this stuff that we learn in this class interesting, Model UN is a great club to help further those interests and use them in a practical way. It's a great academic club with a sort of a low commitment level too. We only have 3 conferences and we meet once a week, as opposed to other academic clubs that can be much more taxing on your schedule. So if you're interested, reach out to me. I'm not sure how it's going to look during distance learning. We'll probably just wait until we get into hybrid, but many clubs are still going on as nothing as we get into hybrid. So I played tennis at St. Olaf College, and something you might not guess about me, I cook dinner for my wife every night. I'm making curry in a little bit here, actually. Next thing I would like to get your students to include is places that they've traveled. I love talking about places that you traveled. Oh, it looks like the formatting got a little off here, but include a list of places you've been and we can chat about that. I think that travel is very important, and domestic travel is not very expensive with hotels and buses and things like that. So I encourage all students to do that. I think it's really important to see how people live, even in Wisconsin or even in Montana or whatever. And obviously the more diverse you get, the more you learn. Here's a picture of my daughter on the left. This is Riley. Riley is 2.5. I'm really enjoying being home with her. Happy that she's back at daycare because she's learning a lot, and they moved her up to preschool at 2.5, which is crazy. But she's talking and she's almost potty trained, which I think is mostly why she's in preschool now, as they're worried about potty training with other kids. And this is my niece Ryan, and she's great as well. And here's a more current photo. This is my wife Laura and my daughter Riley. She's making a funny face, but all the other ones, her face was tucked into to my wife's shoulder because she's snuggly, and so that one is where you could see her face the best. This is my dog Stevie Nicks on the ground here, or on the bottom, and Stevie Nicks is a great dog, and actually a student that I taught in Edina named her. She was like, "You should name your new dog something cool like Stevie Nicks," and I was like, that's a great name for a dog. So anyway, my first assignment for students is to look up who Stevie Nicks is if they don't know. I put this slide on here just as get you guys an idea for how the class is going to run. So in a nutshell, this class is take a look at a map and tell me something about a particular part of the map, or tell me trends you see, or tell me anomalies you see. So those things that I just mentioned that's basically the class. And what's important to know is that there's the cursory sort of, I call it like elementary school things to consider, and then there's some other things where we start to go a little deeper every time you look at a map, and they're always there. So the cursory elementary things would be like, okay, so the dots or the lights on there represent cities or power or lights. Okay, yep, that's great, and that's the first step. Second step would be like, okay, where do you see the most of them? Well, you see them in along the coasts. That could be something you could think of. Or you see them in more developed regions, right? And that's kind of the next level to it. And then you start to think about, okay, so if it represents people and where they're living and maybe cities, why is it that this area in West Africa, which is one of the most populated regions in the world, not showing up? And so that story of development, the story of access, the story of interaction and history is showing up on this map in that particular way. And that's really the class, is to look at something that, like I said, is a trend or an anomaly and tell me why, and think about why, and whether or not there's any new information about that today. So that's kind of a gist of what we would do on any given day, is see a map and an anomaly or a trend, and kind of dive into that a little bit. These are two books that are for this class. The first one here is required. This is the textbook for the class. We'll have nightly reading. It is a farce that this class has a lot of reading. 3 to 6 pages for a college level class is very light. There were weeks where I was assigned 150 pages a week for one class in college. It's not a lot of reading at all. The problem is many students go 5-6 days without reading because of their learning how to be learning time management skills. And then there's 25 pages on a Sunday night, and then people start to say there's lots of reading for the class. It's just not true. There's 3 times this for the next level in 10th grade, and it only goes up from there. So I'm really excited that you guys are able to get a good stepping stone class like AP Human Geography that prepares you and gets you ready for other classes that are maybe more demanding in the independent learning aspect of AP classes. So I call it the USA Today version of a college textbook, because there's lots of pictures, lots of illustrations and maps and things that are very like USA Today, color, things like that make it really easy for you to understand, which is why I picked it, because other books are more traditional college textbooks that were a little more dense and less user-friendly. There is an online version that your students will get a login for next week, or sorry, the first week of school, and the book is tested. So the tests that I give are supposed to prepare you for the AP test. They're from the book as well as from the unit. So I build my unit from the AP class, the course description, and most of that is the same as what's in the book. And then there's other things that I think the book doesn't cover well enough, and I need to explain more to 9th graders. And so those things are tested as well. The second book on here is the AP Test Prep book. There's a bunch of different versions. There's Barron's, Princeton Review, I forget the other one, but there's a bunch of different ones that you can get. They're all good, and the best thing about them is that there are practice tests. When I taught ACT prep, like the most important thing was figuring out how it feels to take a test in a timed capacity. And those full-length test practice tests on there were, I would say the number one thing that helped students do better. And also, when you are taking a practice test with no notes in front of you, there's no lying to yourself about how well you know a subject. It's just you and the paper. So I think that's good, and it is optional, and so is the test. I think that if you get through the class with over a B-, you should take the test. The test registration stuff will come up soon. We need to be registered before the end of September. And it's 70-ish or 60 some dollars. More information will be available soon. And it could potentially be worth 4 credits at the U of M, for example. So that would be about $5,000 at the U of M. Or, yeah, no, that would be $4,000. I know because my wife is currently in grad school at the U of M. So 4 credits would be about $4,000. And I think that, you know, if you like this class and you want to go for it, you know, administration has made it clear that if somebody is unable to afford the $70 to take the test, they will make it not that somehow, and to just have that open communication with me or with them about, you know, availability for that. So that's the class. Again, we're preparing for the AP test. The AP test does have equivalency with you know, over 30 colleges in Minnesota alone, and you can get college credit if you get a 3 or higher at most of those. The only one that's a 5 in Minnesota is St. Olaf, I guess. You needed a 5 to get that. I have no idea why. They must just think really highly of themselves. And my goal is to help your students get prepared for that test and get rewarded for their hard work in this class. And even if they don't take this test, this class is a great introduction to high-level, college-level material at a fast pace where they can learn and explore things individually. So I'm excited that you guys are taking the class, and I am happy to answer any questions you have. If you want to email me at dicka@district279.org. And yeah, let's make it a great year.